Hey everybody, it's Bruno on NB, and I don't know how to say this, but I'm super excited. I guess I just said it. To have Dorothy Breininger, otherwise known as Dorothy the Organizer, and America's most innovating organizing expert, Emmy nominated. Okay, let me get some water for this one because it's going to be a long list. No, I'm just joking. On the hit TV show on A&E, 15th season, and producer, expert, and host of Hoarders. Dorothy, welcome to the show. What are you even doing on the show?
Look, when Bruno Lindia calls and says, hey, Dorothy, would you do, and fill in the blank, the answer is an automatic yes. Of course I'm going to be here.
Gosh, that's crazy. Anyways, I'm really, really honored having you here. And I know our viewing audience here is really excited to hear. I mean, you're an expert in organizing. I mean, there's nobody better than you are. And I'm not just, now we're being serious. Our tagline on my show is not everything has to be serious, but I always tell people now we're being serious, right? But our thumbnail is hoarding impacting or killing your business? Let's start off with that. People normally see your show, 15 seasons of it,
yes,
on A&E, almost as long as Survivor.
Well, it's the same thing, same concept.
It's a reality show. Emmy nominated, so it doesn't get better than that. But they always think it's a house, and they kind of go, oh, you know what? Now, this is a business show. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know what? First of all, I'll say that the Hoarders TV show is not a reality show. It's a docuseries. And it's very different because reality does have staged events in it and scripts. And with Hoarders, it's all real life. Okay, nothing is staged, I'll tell you that. But when it comes to business, I work with a lot of companies here in the United States and a couple in Canada's too. You've got 1-800-GOT-JUNK. The CEO is Brian Scudamore, who I'm friends with. He's done a lot of work with the Hoarder Show as well. You also have Umbra, which is a great company in Canada, and they do a lot of the organizing props that we use and supplies. But when it comes to business and hoarding, a lot of it these days is around informational hoarding, right? How do you manage all of the information and how do you manage all your files? Digital hoarding. It's all big. So, I mean, hoarding comes in various ways, but I can ask your viewers and listeners, look, how many of you have more than 50 texts and emails on your phone right now? And I know the hands are going to go up, right? Right? Okay. That's because we all have just a lot of clutter or a lot of information, even paper still, it's all around. So yeah, it can impact your business for sure.
So let's dig deep on that, because I do want to talk about, your background and how you even got involved in this, right? So, and becoming the expert. What is one, let's talk about small to medium-sized business, because if we're talking about enterprise business, yeah, but people, they tune out on that stuff because it doesn't really apply to them. Small to medium-sized businesses, what's the maybe two things? Let's start off with the second thing that you can say, that's a clue that you're hoarding, either digitally or, physically. What are those two things that come to mind?
Yeah, well, the one thing that I'll say, especially in Canada, here in the US too, but during COVID, everyone was working from home. So whether we call it hoarding or clutter, everything was more crammed, more difficult to find. So that's one reason it's great to, talk to any organizers just to help you get your business, whether it's in the home or in the garage or in the studio, whatever you have needs to be organized. So that's number one. But also, what's one of the clues? It's the fear that you are not going to be able to find it or replace it. That fear is one of the triggers that you can't let go of this document or this digital file because whatever it is. And the fear is bigger for some people and smaller for others, right?
Yeah, that's really parallel. Last night, just because I had to get hyped up even more, because that's possible. to, for this interview. And I was showing a friend of mine. I said, oh my God, who's going to be on my show? And we popped one up, and I saw like 2 or 3 parts of your series. And I got to tell you, they all kind of have the same theme. Now you're the expert, but it all sounded like, well, no, hold on a second. Now you can't even walk into this house, right? And they go, but you can't take my pot and pan. What if I want to cook? I'm like where? And I think that's kind of the same thing for digital or companies on the digital side, is like, how can I live without possibly finding this email or knowing where it is?
Or look, when I go into attorney's office, accountants' offices, even, here in Hollywood, we've got a lot of people who are pitching ideas and just actors, lots of people doing their own businesses here. I can walk into their physical space. And even though we live in a paperless society, the piles are like this everywhere, right? Yeah. Because we print things out, we have intentions to do certain projects. Just like on the Hoarder Show, people have intentions of doing all sorts of projects, like, putting together some sort of refinishing some chair, and they've got all the stuff that goes with it, and they've got maybe 35 chairs that they've picked up from the side of the road. Well, we have intentions in business as well, and they show up all over our floors and our desks and our bookshelves. So whether it's digital, whether it's physical, the stuff is there. How do we deal with it? That's the important thing.
How much of it do you think is, because you've been on the doctor, I got to tell you something, not you audience guys and girls, we're talking about somebody that's been on Dr. Phil and The View, okay? And so many other shows that we're going to touch on. But when we're talking about what do you do with it, what is like the first thing, like how much of it is it psychological versus physical? I mean, getting somebody to come in and move all that stuff, or getting somebody to move your digital footprint somewhere. I think that would be, 10% content. Is it like 90% emotional or mindset?
I think you're right on the money there. It all comes down to, and whether it's business, whether it's personal, whether it's at home, whether it's your car, wherever you have clutter, it is the mindset, because again, I'll just go back to the fear of, I won't be able to get it. I won't be able to find it. I won't be able to have my identity. I was a gymnast for 16 years. Hey, I still have all of my awards, my medals, my leotards that I wore. But I have it in a small container, but that identity still lives on for me. And right. As we change positions, we tend to take those identities with us from one job to the next, or one entrepreneurial gig to the next. So that's the first thing that we want to do, is just look at it and say, okay, why am I holding on to it? What's the story behind this whole box that I'm holding on to? And I need to create more space.
So is that like more like a fear of losing your identity, you were saying, right? Is it just fear of the end? Like they're just fear that nobody's going to remember them as gymnasts? I remember, I have your videos too, but in the, but no, I'm being serious. Is that like a deeper fear of, the end coming and nobody's going to remember me? Or,
it's when we look at our identity, that's why we keep so much of our memorabilia, Bruno, right? All of you out there have some sort of memorabilia that you want to keep, whether it's from your parents or grandparents, or whether it's from a thesis that you wrote, or whether it was your very first, check that was written to you in your business. There's something about it that gives us a feeling of, accomplishment. And I think that's why we hold on to it.
But it gets crazier in business too, because there's less memorabilia versus more, I guess, digital junk.
Yeah, there's all of it. For me, as a professional organizer, I have thousands of before and after photos, right? Oh. I've got thousands of videos. I have, proposals that I've written. I run courses, so I have all of that content. How do I organize all of that? If you're not organized, there is a book on the 22 traits of being a successful CEO, and one of them is being organized. And if you're not, to have someone who is organized for you.
That's awesome. You know, we're going to come back for another episode, and I do want to touch on a couple other things. So you guys got to watch our next episode. This is only, believe it or not, this is only a fraction of what you do, this Hoarder show, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that takes up a lot of your time as the host and producer and expert, because you're the one that puts it all together. Give us like a quick, you know, rundown of what else you're doing, which is pretty impressive.
Okay, well, I write books, right? There.
I'm actually more impressed that you're writing a book, that you found the book right away. That's organization. Oh, let's take a look at that book again.
Here. Right?
Okay, so face to face.
It's called Stuff Your Face or Face Your Stuff.
Okay, so how do they get that book?
Well, they can go to dorothytheorganizer.com.
Okay, we're going to put that link under here.
Great, great. But the reason, thank you. But the reason that I'm showing you this is we're talking about the Hoarder Show. We're talking about being in business. We're talking about being entrepreneurs. So here's an example of what it's like to take all of that material and create money for yourself, which is what we want to do, right? So here I am on the Hoarder Show. When I'd written this, I might have been in season 10. But here I was, at that point, I was overweight, right? And so I was saying to myself, wow, here I am on the show. I'm working with people who have too much stuff. And I have too much stuff around I was hoarding sugar and flour on my body, the way they were hoarding, you know, stuff. And so, just taking the experience that you have in front of you right now, which was my show, and I wrote a book about what it's like, that similarity. So everybody can write an e-guide or a book based on something current that's going on in your life, whether it's caregiving, whether it's, you know, teaching kids how to do speaking, whatever it is that you're all into out there, you can actually create a book or a guide or a course or anything, as long as you get it organized, right? That's part of it.
Well, it's very therapeutic too, on using you as an example. Dorothy, that's only like another 1% of what you do, but you got to promise me that we're going to come back on the next episode and we're going to build on that, because I think especially our folks up in Canada, they need to know what you're doing, what you can offer up here, because I thought that was amazing. And you're a hidden gem down in the States in Hollywood, you know, hanging out with all the big actors. So we'll come back in a couple minutes. And how do they get in touch with you? And we'll put it down here.
Absolutely. Go to dorothytheorganizer.com. That can get through that way. Of course, you'll find me on every single social media feed, Dorothy the Organizer. It's pretty simple. One name all across all platforms. That's a clue to be organized.
There you go. There you go. Okay, we're going to be back next time. Okay. Thanks, Dorothy.
You bet. Thanks, Bruno.